Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hotdog Hour. It's me, Alex, your friend, neighbor, and fellow human being. You can trust me. I'm on the internet. See, when I was a kid, my parents would always joke around, it's on the internet, it has to be true. We used to have a healthier relationship with the internet. Right? It used to be a tool to connect to the world and share ideas. It was for people. But now it seems like it's for something else. See, I put stuff on the internet a lot. And sometimes people are very, very mean. And when I was a kid, the sentiment was, hey, don't be mean. Okay, that's a human being on the other side of that screen. But that's not always the case anymore. AI agents, automated chatbots, large language models, all of these are inundating every corner of the internet. And they're boxing out humans. That's right, folks. The internet may be dead. And that's what I want to explore today. What is dead internet theory? How did we get here? And is this the age of the machines? Is this the rise of Skynet? Or maybe this will force everyone to go back outside again, right? Back into the real world. Maybe we'll redefine our relationship with technology. Maybe we'll change the way we feel about ourselves and the world. Or maybe this is just a crackpot idea from a comedian. Either way, let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. I'm here with Alex Pischera.
Hey.
Give it up for Alex Pischera.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Alex Pischera is here, everybody, in the house. Along with Alex Pischera, we have a very special guest today, someone that I've been really looking forward to speaking to, someone who I have read a lot of their work online, and just have been really looking forward to. I think this is one of the best people that we could have this conversation with. This guest is an American journalist, a blogger, a columnist, and a podcaster. He contributes to top-tier media outlets like Computer World, Cult of Android, Cult of Mac, Forbes, Datamation, Baseline. And he also has, like I said, a deep and really nuanced understanding of culture and technology. He really examines how they both drive each other and just kind of how we got to where we are now, and probably has a good idea of where we're going to. He's a brilliant mind. He's here with us today. Mike Elgan!
Alex, nice to be here.
Yes,
Thank you
indeed.
for inviting me.
Nice
Mike,
to meet you.
Thank you so much, man. We've really been looking forward to having this call with you. It's been really awesome. So before we get started, why don't you just tell us, for the listeners who may not be super familiar with you, I don't know how, tell us a little bit about just your background and kind of how you got into writing, what you write about, and things like that.
Sure. I started out in newspapers. I always wanted to be an opinion columnist, but I started out at the bottom writing obituaries and covering crime stories in Santa Barbara, California, and realized after a couple of years that what I really loved was computers and technology. This is back when, it was a really nascent, exciting era of, personal computers. Mm-hmm. So I got a job, worked my way up at a publication called Windows Magazine, ended up editing the magazine for the better part of a decade. I lived in New York, actually, during that decade, because that's where the publisher was based.
Beautiful.
And then when the computer magazine boom was replaced by online content, when people started getting their answers from the internet instead of from computer magazine, print magazines from the newsstand, I went independent, became an independent opinion columnist, and I've been doing that ever since. I specialize in the effect of technology on culture and vice versa. Mm-hmm. Always have. I'm fascinated by that question. A bit of a futurist. I do some predictions. But mostly I try to explain what's happening and what's coming to people by looking at the big picture. So much of tech journalism is just looking at, here's a new phone, or, this company just announced XYZ.
Sure.
I don't really care that much about that stuff. I think the big picture is like, how is this changing our lives? How can we be prepared for what's coming? And lately I've been writing about the most advanced technology, artificial intelligence, robotics, prosthetic arms, brain implants, all that kind of
crazy.
Basically, the way I look at it is I write cyberpunk nonfiction. Our world has become a cyberpunk novel, right? So I try to explain all that.
No, I mean, I think that is like a great way to put it. It feels every day I'm like, oh my God, man, the future is now. It's like we are literally in the future. All of those crazy movies that everyone grew up, like, you grow up watching like crazy movies like Blade Runner and things like that. And you're like, oh my God, man, like we're like about to be there. Like, I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah.
What?
And a lot of the technology in those movies is now like kind of quaint, and it looks either old-fashioned or too clunky or not, as advanced as what we just carry around in our pockets.
Right. I know. It's so funny you say that. Sometimes, you watch movies like that, you're almost like, oh, it's adorable. Like, oh, right. Look at them. Look, They thought that's how we do it.
Right.
What is, when you're writing for these publications, are you allowed to kind of, say whatever in terms of like, do they ever harp on you for like fear mongering or anything like that? Like, in terms of like technology and where it's going and the culture, I feel like that could be obviously a very like sensitive topic,
Right.
So I'm curious.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No. So for my work for Computer World, which I've been writing for that publication forever, I write what I want, but part of that is an implicit trust that I understand the audience, and I'm going to, it's kind of a business-oriented audience. So they're interested in the constructive use of technology and an understanding of technology for business mostly, right? So I have always had my own personal alternative media outlet, or to go with the things that I want to say that are more controversial, that are attacking tech leaders. For example, I just ripped Elon Musk a new one yesterday, and so right now my main outlet for that is my newsletter, Machine Society. It's a Substack, right? And
awesome.
One of the things I do is when I interview sources and interesting minds and stuff like that, I just throw the interview into the newsletter. I also just very recently launched another podcast called Super Intelligent. And so that's the other place where I can say whatever the hell I want. And so I kind of like, that's really one of the main criteria for where I put an idea. So I have an idea, oh, this would be great for Computer World. This would be really useful for the audience. Or like, oh, no, this is a bit like too far. Like, so I'll put this in my newsletter. So it works out great. I have that release valve.
Totally. Yeah, no, man. I mean, listen, I am a full-time publicist as well. So I totally understand the idea of that's kind of step one is you get a story and you go, well, who would like this? And why would they like it? And it is cool. I'm a big, I like Computer World a lot. I feel like they are pretty, they pretty much let most ideas flow. I think they pretty much for the most part, I always enjoy reading their stuff. So to get started with Dead Internet Theory, what, I'd love to hear kind of in your own words, like what you would consider Dead Internet Theory. My monologue is a little cheeky, of course, but I do think it, for the most part, is kind of getting to a point where, I'm sure you have X and all the platforms and things like that. And, I used to love Twitter so much. I thought it was so funny, and it was like such a great tool for journalists too. And not to say that same function isn't still there, but, I feel like when I go on X or I go on Instagram now, you're almost guaranteed to get bot posts, and it's kind of odd that we're all kind of just like accepted that, and we're like, whatever. So I'm curious, in your own words, what is Dead Internet Theory to you?
So Dead Internet Theory is a good old-fashioned conspiracy theory.
Yes. Hell yeah.
So a conspiracy theory is basically a set of ideas that's designed to explain something that doesn't seem to be explainable through any other means other than that there's a cabal of conspirators behind the scenes manipulating things and making things different from what they appear. And so there are lots of conspiracy theories. And so the Dead Internet Theory emerged in the late, sort of like it emerged around 2018, 19, something like that. And it started with a user on an obscure forum called Agora Rhodes Macintosh Cafe, who went by the name Illuminati Pirate. He wrote an article called Dead Internet Theory. Most of the internet is fake. Now, what he was doing was he was bringing together chatter that had been going on 4chan and WizardChan for a number of years. And essentially, it's something like the Matrix in a way. So basically, their whole point is like, you think you're interacting with all these people. You think you're getting all this content from journalists. You think all this stuff. But what's really happening is most of that is bots. You're really interacting with machines, with AI. And so it's sort of this, and the reason there's so many bots and AI out there is that there's a cabal of conspirators who want to control us, who want to manipulate us and all this kind of stuff. So it had all the stuff of a good,
all the makings of a great theory.
Exactly. Exactly. And so what's interesting about that, and the reason I wrote the article that you had mentioned about the dead internet theory, is that the core of it is that here's the core of it. Most of the online stuff that's happening online is from bots. And at some point, early this year, maybe late last year, that became true.
Right.
So most of the stuff that happens on the internet is not being done by people, it's being done by bots, by AI, etc. And so I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
One fascinating dimension. The second fascinating dimension is that Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook, is actually like embracing the dead internet theory, like trying to make that happen on purpose for the money, obviously.
Right.
So there's another concept, and I'm going to bring a third Alex into this thing.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Maybe there's too
this
many
is the Alex hour.
Yeah. There's a guy named Alex Bleckman who is he's a game designer who was on Twitter, and in November of 2021, he wrote a tweet where he coined the term the torment nexus. Okay. The torment nexus is a theoretical fake product that's based on something dystopian. So I'll give you an example. The metaverse, right? We've heard Meta talk about the metaverse. The metaverse was always a bad idea. Like it was a dystopian. It was a warning from science fiction writers. Yes. You know that if we're not careful, we're going to end up in this metaverse, right? And he thought metaverse. Wow, that sounds like a business plan. And he renamed the company Meta based on this dystopian idea. That's what a torment nexus is.
Yeah.
So another torment nexus idea is Meta's mission to create fake celebrities, to create AI stuff. They want users on Facebook to be mainly interacting with bots. They want users on Instagram to be mainly interacting with influencers, but not influencers. Digital twins of influencers. So they created these tools for Instagram influencers to create an online version of themselves to chat with their fans and stuff like that. So they're actually, this is a torment nexus idea because they've taken this dystopian idea of the dead internet theory and they're saying, this is a business plan. Let's do that. That sounds like a great idea. So that's the essential element of my column that I wrote.
Right. Which is hilarious. I mean, listen, I guess as a PR person, I have to appreciate a good spin when I hear one, but I don't know if I agree with that. It is funny how, and we always, people always joke about Zuckerberg being an alien or being a lizard person or being a,
right.
But it is funny how he seems to always take the step that is like he's like the Peter Thiel interview, which I'm sure you recently saw. He goes, should humanity exist? And he goes, well, and are these guys, and of course this is purely speculative, of course, but what do you think is the end goal for, obviously money, I get that.
Profit.
Yes, you make money, you make profit, but I mean, do they understand that, like I always think like I'm a comedian, I'm some random idiot. And how do I have the foresight to be like, you shouldn't do that because this could eventually happen? Do they just not care? Or are they just, do they maybe, is it sometimes their attitude? Do they think, well, I figured everything else out, I'll figure that out too? What do you think about that?
Well, there's a certain type of personality that tends to succeed with giant, technology companies. So if you think about what people like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, as you mentioned, and a few others have in common, is that without the internet, if they were in another time and place, if Mark Zuckerberg existed in the year 1950 or something like that, right? He'd be an accountant or something. He'd be like he would be just the nerd in the back room that you'd never hear about. So these are people who are kind of on the spectrum. They're kind of have weird ideas about social stuff. They tend to be not people person, people, I guess you could say. They tend to, people like Kara Swisher will go as far as to say they really don't like people.
No, they don't.
But here's a person who doesn't like people, who's not very social, who's in charge of most of the world's social networking activity. It's kind of a bizarre situation. Exactly.
How did we let that happen?
Exactly. So, Elon Musk has his own torment nexus ideas. I just wrote about one yesterday, which is that he's got they've got Grok, which is an AI chatbot.
Oh, I know Grok.
From the company XAI. Yeah. So they're rolling out some digital friends, right? The first of which is a digital girlfriend called Annie,
it's so
right?
weird.
And this is like a teenage girl you're supposed to have a relationship with, and if you score enough points, you move up to not safe for work mode. This is a creepy idea.
Wow, really?
From a creepy dude, but this is another dystopian idea that you're in a dark room somewhere, instead of interacting with people and having a real girlfriend, you have a fake AI girlfriend, right? This is the stuff of Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And he's not like let's avoid this. He's like, no, let me be the one to profit from this.
Well, that's interesting because this is Elon, you're saying, right?
Yes.
Behind this. I mean, you would think that would disincentivize births. Like, they're always talking about
they're obsessed with the birth rate.
They're always talking about fear mongering about population collapse.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to have a bunch of teenage boys who are definitely struggling socially to, have girlfriends, give them an AI girlfriend and get obsessed with it to the point where it's like a tiered, you could get to the NSFW tier and spend a bunch of hours doing that. I mean, like, when are these people going to procreate? I don't even it seems like profit always
Elon
trumps.
Musk's own idea is that he's got 13, 14, 15 children, but he doesn't actually have relationships with the mothers of those children.
That's
right? He wants babies to be born, but not really relationships to be had. He's just mailing his semen to women or something.
Literally.
And so like that's his model, right? He just he wants more customers, right? So and I think we had some preliminary back and forth about the content and a lot of the stuff in the content, some of the questions that we were talking about are about incentives. Like, what are people's incentives? What is Mark Zuckerberg's incentive? What is Elon Musk's incentive? Like you're saying, money is part of it, kind of, but all of our incentives, I believe, can be traced back to what we are as people. And what are people? We're like these talking apes. We're like these Paleolithic people who are designed to live in a tribe of 35 people, and to defend our tribe against the neighboring tribe, and to find resources and feed our children. And like, this is really what it is. And so all of us want to, one of the things that we really want to do is we want to be influential. We want to be highly regarded by our social group, right?
Of course.
And so, and we all have causes. Like, for example, I like natural food and healthy food, right? I want people to have healthy food. But if my net worth is $200 billion, right? I don't just sit there on, advocating for people to have healthy food. No. I create this organization that imposes my ideas about healthy food on millions of people. I'm talking about Bill Gates.
Right.
He's not so much into healthy food, but
he's
GMO.
into he's into
but whatever it is he's into, he gets to make it happen because he's so. And so really, this is once you get after your first 10 billion, right? How can you live? Bezos's yacht can only be so big, right? And so
what's
at
next?
some point, there's no material difference in your life between 20 billion and 50 billion, right? It's the same lifestyle. So what do you use that money for? You use that money to have your way
and influence. In mass.
Because we all want to have our way. We all want to have our influence. We personally would love to choose the president, right? Well, Elon Musk is like, well, I'm going to do that because I have the money to do that. So it's like, this is what they want.
Yeah, that makes sense. We all want to influence our own social circles in some way. That's inherent to us, that, if I'm understanding you correctly. And basically, the more wealth and resources you accumulate, the broader your scale of influence becomes, and then that becomes your playground, right? Is that sort
Absolutely.
of okay? Understood. Got
Absolutely.
it. I'm just trying to prove I'm smart and understanding what he's saying here.
Yeah, he's smart. Yeah, we read. No, but Mike, something you said was interesting because I've had this theory for a long time about tech people, and it's stupid to say that because everyone's a tech person now. Like we're tech people. We set this. You know what I mean? I guess when I say tech person, I mean a real. I feel like the tech leaders today, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, all of them, right. Even guys like Richard Branson and people like that, like he wears flip-flops. He's like, I'm not weird. We know you're weird, Rich. But, I feel like they fall into a trap of almost over-optimizing to a fault where... Yes, on paper, of course, do I want the human race to continue to optimize and get better and of course, yes, and communicate faster and this and better and sleeker and whatever. But I think the Elon Musk is a good example where we just said, where it's like, he's worried about population control. He wants people to have children. And so what he's doing is he's technically having children. Technically, he is creating spawn. But to your point, none of it is in the right. He's almost like perverting it, kind of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's also what Meta is doing to kind of bring it back to the article you wrote. Meta's kind of doing that with the AI bots. Like I watched him. I think it was when he was on Theo Vaughn's podcast, and he was like. And he said he was like he said he was like I'm paraphrasing a little, but he said basically he was like he's like every person has the need for like 3 to 4 friends, and it like he was saying it like it was like every vehicle needs 4 tires,
right,
and our company is going to deliver those, and it was so weird because I'm like, dude. Like, what are you saying? Like, do you realize, like, you're acting like you're helping people find the solution to an organic problem in the most inorganic way possible? So it's like, do you think that they are just going to kind of hoodwink us and be like, oh, sorry? Because that's what I think. I don't think any of them really care. I know we kind of just discussed this, but I guess, is there a way to get through to people like that? Do they just have a different thought process? Like, I'm curious what you think about that.
They certainly have a different experience of life. So somebody like Elon Musk, I'm sure he was like a brilliant student, and I'm sure he was always considered very smart by his peers. His brother says he's one of the greatest engineers in the world. He personally doesn't engineer rockets and cars, but he has an engineering mindset, right? So here's a person who came to Silicon Valley with a dream and a few bucks, and just got super rich from PayPal, launch a company. It's just one layup after another. And he launched Tesla. He launched, and Tesla was a brilliant idea. The idea of Tesla is kind of forgotten now, but there used to be electric cars that were clunky and hippie and slow and dumb and unfashionable. And he's like, I'm going to make a electric race car. I'm going to make an electric car that's faster than a gasoline car. And that was the idea. And it's like, wow, that's a really killer idea. Anyway, so his whole career has been nothing but wins. And he's done things on a sort of world historic scale, like really scaling up his rocket company to be like...
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
It's the second best rocket program in the world in history, right after NASA.
Right behind the U.S. government. It's like
right. So a person like that has got to think, hey, man, I am like way smarter than everybody else. And therefore other people, and he's also a narcissist, right? So narcissistic personality disorder, he's got it for sure. It's a personality that tells you that other people's ideas are inherently inferior because they are other people's, right? So that's what, with the Doge thing, he went in there just ripping things up. Other people put all this stuff together, so they're obviously wrong.
Right.
I'm the one who knows how things work, and so I'm obviously right. And so he's kind of got this idea, and his experience has reinforced that idea. There's nothing in his life that tells him, yeah, he's kind of an idiot, he's got it wrong. But specifically what you mentioned is this idea of like, he doesn't understand the human element. So his idea is like, oh, we could have, 50 billion people on Earth. Don't worry about the effects of that. We'll solve all the problems of pollution,
right.
technology and science. What he doesn't realize, and he should realize now after what happened at Doge, you don't just, the engineers don't come in and dictate everything, and everything you end up in this techno paradise. That's not how anything works.
No.
You have to deal with people and their interests and their ideas and their power and all that kind of stuff. Human beings are a messy bunch of people, and you don't just dictate all these solutions. So his idea that we're going to have, double the population, quadruple the population of Earth, or whatever it is, okay, we can do that. That's the easy part, right?
Yeah.
The hard part is getting the world united behind a techno-utopian vision and embracing all the stuff people don't want to embrace. It's never going to happen. What will end up is just massive pollution, total collapse of the climate, all that kind of stuff. He's wrong. He's wrong about this population thing. And the reason he's wrong is he assumes that the technological solution will solve all these problems, and it won't, because people. And that's what
people.
Guys are missing. They miss the human element. They don't understand how people work.
Yeah. Oh my God, you could not have said it better. Because people.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the answer to most.
Yes.
And it's funny because I think about this a lot, and this was a question that we talked about where I understand, like we said, I understand the need for precise and there is certainly a place in our society for computers and for precise, measured, actionable insights backed by data and so on and so forth. Of course, I get it. I work in marketing, but it feels like they have forgotten that. To me, I feel like life is a feeling, right? Like, we all remember, after a couple months of COVID, it didn't mean anything when they would go on TV and go, 380,000 more people have died today. And you go, I don't even know what that means. Like, what is that?
Right.
How many, I don't even know what that is. So it's like, to me, it feels like we're so disconnected that even the tech people are starting to feel it, but their solution is to kind of dive deeper into the beast, like and I'm just like, I don't know where it goes from there. Right.
Well, they should also realize that, the internet that existed before, I don't know, 2010 maybe, or even earlier, the late 90s, early 2000s, it was created entirely by people, like common people. Like there wasn't institutional influence over the internet. I mean, it was sort of like not even understood by institutions and mocked, sort of, right? And that, I think there's a nostalgia for that internet in mass. I think so many people realize now that what we had was like a wild, wild west, the good parts of a wild, wild west. Sure, the bad parts too. There was definitely bad parts. There was definitely child trafficking and
people selling drugs,
which there still is. But I mean, it was maybe easier back then. But there were so many places to go on the internet. There were so many different types of websites. There was it was all human generated. The forums, the ideas that were shared, cryptocurrency came out of that. Just these novel concepts, and I miss that internet. Now it's like 5 websites that people go to, and the content is just shared between the platforms and re-uploaded. And this AI content, especially with generative AI in the last like 2 years or so, it is so optimized for algorithmic reach. It always beats human content now. It's like, it's really saddening because the AI content itself is not engaging. It's AI slop. It's AI slop, but it performs super well on all of these platforms. So it's just, I guess what I'm getting at with all this is like, what are some regulations that could be put on bot traffic, AI content? Are there any? And should there be regulations? I think there has to be, personally, but maybe we could. No, and that's one of the things I want to talk about, because I'm not against it. I just don't know how I feel. Right. I'm someone who was always very I don't hate the government or anything like that, but I've always been like, I'm not I'm the government and I'm here to help. I'm not like that, but to me, I feel like I've always seen regulation could become a slippery slope. Sure. Obviously, so much good has come from it, like with food or with, making sure that, maybe, I don't know. No. Yes, you're right about that. With crucial, foundational topics, like or I don't know what the word is, like things like food and water and safety. Right. You need regulation.
Yeah, you need a framework because you
AI
just
is that impactful, in my opinion.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
We need some effort to regulate, and I don't know. I'd love to hear Mike. I mean, we've been yammering on here. But his opinion on this.
It's a tough question, and you kind of want to be careful with regulation because you can basically just freeze things in their tracks. I mean, Europe, the European Union is the world's leading body for regulating internet stuff, and it's kind of, to a very large extent, it's suppressed the technology sector in Europe.
That's true.
So what is your favorite technology brand in Europe? Well, besides Spotify, right? So, not much, right? Where's the European search engine? Where's the European AI company? And there's Mistral in France, which is doing pretty well, but most people in the world never heard of it. It's not making as big of an impact as literally, there's a 10 square mile area in California where 90% of the stuff is happening, right? So and so you don't want to throw an anchor overboard when sometimes the solution to many of the problems are to keep going, right? And so it's hard to say. And the other thing is that that regulating everything and top-down rules for society and government, for society and private companies, is the European way. The American way is basically like, we have different segments of society, and they each have a role to contribute to controlling these things. So, for example, the open internet that you're talking about, that used to exist before there was so much fucking money to be made on the internet, which is really the bottom line that ruined everything. All those rules and regulations and standards. Really, the internet was built based on standards. Those were all done not by the government handing down rules on high. These were organizations of people who were building this stuff, who got together and decided, okay, here are the rules. Here's how Bluetooth is going to work. Here's how Wi-Fi is going to work. Here's how the internet protocol is going to work. Here's how the web works. Right? They're consortiums of people voluntarily getting together. It's like a wine appellation, right? So it's like there's an element of that. But there's the one thing everybody should remember is, if you look at the enshittification of everything online right now, the stuff we don't like, the scary stuff, the AI slop, all the things you mentioned. This is a snapshot in time. This stuff is blindsiding us because it's coming so fast. But everything will change, and there will be a reaction to everything that happens.
That's true.
Of course, and just like everything.
So a wonderful metaphor for this is the movie industry. So for decades, movies were silent, right? And there'd be a guy with a piano, literally playing the
in
piano
the room,
and they'd have subtitles, and they would, and then they invented a new technology for sound, so you could have sound in the movies.
Totally.
And the companies, literally all the major powerful movie companies in Hollywood said, it's a fad. It's not going to take off. Nobody wants to hear
funny.
That's crazy, talk. Right? It's unimaginable, right? And so they were washed away. And all the startups that came in with the new technology are the movie companies that we know today.
Right.
MGM, like et cetera. And so this sort of, there's always a reaction. An even better metaphor for this stuff is photography. So before photography, there was a need for portraits, for marketing, for public relations, for to know what another place looked like. And painters were what did that stuff. So if you were an aristocrat or you were anybody, right, you'd have your portrait painted. So you could share through newspapers or some other means, what you look like, right? And so the aristocrats would have themselves in this, look really amazing, like with their fanciest clothes, to sort of elevate themselves in the perception of people who would see these paintings.
Sure.
Right? The photography came along, and they could say, click, and now I've captured a scene, a person, or whatever. And there was massive panic. What is this going to do to the painting industrial complex, right?
Of course, the PIC, of course.
Exactly. And so photography did the functional stuff. It was for portraits, for landscapes, for showing what other places look like. What happened with painting? It exploded into 1,000 styles. Cubism, Impressionism. It became art. It became real art. It became like an amazing thing, right? As a reaction to photography. And I think to a certain extent, that's what's going to happen with AI. Yes, AI is like, the ease with which somebody can put together a press release with AI, literally 5 seconds.
Yes.
Right?
So easy.
Compared. All right. So you know what? Let the AI do that stuff.
Right.
If AI can do sports scores and reporting on financial stuff in the stock market, great. Let it do that stuff, and let us then like pour our energy into doing more creative work, do the things that AI can't do. That's what the painters did, and I think that's what we can and will do. There's also going to be a backlash against AI stuff. So, for example,
right.
AI can write amazing poetry. Like you can say, write me a poem about blah, 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 and it'll turn out this thing, and you're like, wow, that's really good. That's really amazing. But once we really settle into this idea, right? Once it's so banal and daily, like in our lives all day,
Sure.
we're going to be like, you know what? I want the words of somebody who actually felt the emotions that they're writing about. It's important to me to know that somebody went through some pain and this is what they're expressing, not just collecting all the poems and sort of like generically churning out an average poem. No, I want a specific person who went through a specific experience to express their feelings in poetry. That's what I want. So there's always going to be a backlash. This isn't the government dictating what isn't happening. I think and every generation is going to be different. Like, really how fundamental cultural change happens is that old people die and young people are born into a new world.
Yeah.
So young people, like if you're like 6 or 7 years old today, 10 years old maybe, right? And you live in the United States or in some reasonably wealthy country, you never knew a world where there wasn't a voice in the house, like an Amazon Echo or something like that, where you just talk to and get all the world's knowledge just by chatting. It's the most boring thing in the world to a 10-year-old.
Right. Yeah. It's an Alexa
AI voice that tells you. And so that mind, they'll take that mindset into their adulthood, be integrating new technologies, and they'll have an entirely different view. We, the three of us, right? We remember when AI wasn't everywhere because it was 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of a big deal to us. To a young person growing up into this world, it's no big deal. They're, in other words, not going to be so impressed by it as we are, right? And so everything's going to change, and we don't really know how, but we do know that for everything that happens, that there's always a reaction and a reordering of how we do everything. And I think that's really what's called for. And what we really need to do is change our perspective about things.
Totally. Yeah. It's funny. I had a conversation one time after I always joke about, I always say more reporters need to hang out at comedy clubs after a show, because the conversations that you have after a show is always so fun, because everyone's more relaxed and everybody's talking about their weird things they think. So it's really funny that you said that reordering and that kind of, I guess in your head, you kind of reorganize the importance or the value of things. Like, do you think that we will, and kind of to what you just said, the aristocrats, I have this thought, and I was talking about this at St. Mark's like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I was talking to a couple other people, and we were saying, do you think that it's going to become a wealthy kind of flex to have human-made art? Like, do you think you could go to a rich person's house and you'll be like, oh, it's a beautiful painting? You'd be like, oh, a human made it. You know what I mean? Like, do you think that could be like something like, oh, I'll pay $2 million for that. A human made it.
100%.
Yeah.
Look what the situation is in our culture, right? And I think all cultures. It used to be that the main form of transportation was the horse. In New York City, there were there were like hundreds of stables.
Yeah.
The streets were paved with horse shit.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. That was a huge industry.
Yeah.
And at some point, somebody invented the motor car, and they built the Brooklyn Bridge. And now you could live on Long Island and drive to work into Manhattan.
That's crazy.
There was an absolute panic. What is going to happen to the horse industry? Who is going to employ all these blacksmiths? All this kind of stuff. It sounds really quaint, but look at today. Who's got horses now? Rich people have horses.
It's a flex.
Right? It used to be the only way you could get across the ocean or go anywhere on the water was a sailboat. right? Now they invented the engine and the steam engine, then the gas, all this stuff. But guess who has sailboats? It's rich people. The old school stuff. In fact, you can trace that all the way back. Rich people live like cavemen. They have fires in their house.
Yeah.
They wear furs.
You're right.
They don't eat high-tech food like McDonald's. They'll eat a big roast animal, right?
I've never noticed that. That is spot on in so many different areas.
That's a good bit, Mike. That's a good bit.
They have
really
the
good premise for a
luxury
stand-up
to be cavemen.
You're right.
They have the luxury to be old-fashioned. And I think you're absolutely right. The handmade thing that could be so easily and convincingly made with AI can be confirmed to have made by a person. Way more valuable
because it becomes more scarce when
exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Well, it's like, when someone gives you a present, they go, "Oh, this is a cigar box. It's handmade."
Right.
You go, "No way, this is amazing. You got this for me? Like what?"
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's so funny. So maybe that's what. So that's interesting. Yeah, it's like the luxury to connect with what it means to be a human. You don't which how do you connect to be a human? It's all luxury things. You need time, you need resources, you need a safe space that's secure. You need to be able, you need to have connections and a network of people that are reliable.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what I think a lot of people don't have. It's living in New York especially is funny because it's you walk down the street and you look at one guy and it's like the 5th richest person in the world. And then you turn the corner and you see someone with no legs and you go, what the fuck, man? Like
every day.
Yeah. And it's like you're constantly in the throes of so many different ways of life that you start, obviously, I'm not envious of someone who's like living in a train station or something, but you do look at rich people sometimes and you're like, what is the right thing to do? Like, what is life really is what you make it. We all know that. And it's like, maybe it is kind of the getting back to basics. We figured all this out a millennia ago. And now we're just making it complicated. Yeah. And I guess, do you think that AI will further that divide?
For sure. And it's a tragic thing, but I think that AI will make everything a lot better and everything a lot worse at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think it'll make richer. We're gonna have an AI trillionaire within the next 5 years,
sure.
probably.
An individual is going to be a trillion.
That's gonna be we're well on our way to that.
Oh, of course, but that's going to be nuts, dude.
Right. Yeah. But you just in all things you got to follow the incentives, and there's a huge incentive for. Look at Elon Musk, the history's richest person. Probably not true, actually.
Mansa
people who are like Vladimir Putin's probably richer. The King of Morocco is probably richer. But for the measurable wealth that's based on
paper,
business,
reported
Elon Musk, and he believes that the way he helps society is he builds electric cars to make the air cleaner, and he builds a space program so we can all move to Mars and all the rest, right? That's his contribution. He doesn't feel the need for a wealth redistribution. He could personally end homelessness in America, poverty and hunger in America personally.
That's crazy.
With his own money, and his lifestyle wouldn't change at all. Right?
That's insane.
But he's like, I don't want to do that, right? So this is the incentive isn't there for him to do that. So it's a tragic state of affairs. I'm in Mexico City right now. I don't know if you know this, but I travel full time. I don't have a permanent home.
Oh, nice.
I've been traveling full time for about 19 years, with the exception of 2 years when I had a.
You're the OG
podcast.
Digital nomad.
Yeah,
wow.
That is, you are correct. So I'm in Mexico City right now, and there's been protests lately in Mexico City.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And what the protesters think they're protesting against, at its core, is Americans coming and being digital nomads, renting apartments through Airbnb in Mexico City, which the people who own those apartments are making bank, and then they're pushing people out of apartments. I have a friend here in Mexico City who had trouble finding an apartment, has to find an apartment because her apartment's being converted into Airbnb. Her landlord wants her to move out so they can have an Airbnb. So there's pressure. Okay, that seems to be gringos coming to Mexico City and ruining everything.
Right.
What's actually happening is that Mexico, like the United States, is a country of haves and have-nots. The rich people are very rich, the poor people are very poor, and the rich people own the resources. If all the prices are going up in real estate and you own the real estate, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, you're not going to not do it.
It's the worst thing ever.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And so technology through Airbnb is actually exacerbating the haves and have-not
wealth
situation in
inequality.
Mexico City. That's what's really happening.
And that's the
it's gonna
protest.
continue.
That's the anger. That's the source of the protest.
But they don't know that that's the source. They don't
Right.
identify it. They see it as Mexicans versus Americans. But what it is basically the American and Mexican haves
Yes.
getting everything and more of it, and the Mexican and American have-not. The American have-nots. Poor people don't go on vacation to Mexico City, and poor Americans don't.
Right.
So it's like the wealthier, well-to-do Americans and the wealthier Mexicans basically scratching each other's backs. I'm in a nice apartment right now that's owned by a wealthy Mexican, right?
Right.
So, and then the poor people are just pushed out as usual, pushed down, and so on. So it's going to get worse and it's going to get better at the same time, is what I'm saying. And technology tends to always do that. And the solution in this case, I think, is in fact government. I mean, I really think that we have to, I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism, but capitalism with good government can end homelessness, poverty, and all the rest.
Or at least, if not end, because I do think there is some homelessness that, unfortunately, might
it's life. Things happen, and I know what you're saying.
Because people will literally refuse to live in certain situations. But we can make it better. We can make wealth inequality better with some good government. I agree wholeheartedly.
It is fun. It is funny when you see like the Hudson Yards beehive thing, and you're like, we couldn't have helped a couple people.
Right.
We had to build that. But
he said so many interesting things there. I just think that so many analogies to what motivates people. So the people in Mexico City are protesting, right? And I think Mike is spot on in the sense that like the actual reason for their protest is the wealth inequality, whereas what's being blamed is the other countrymen, the Americans. That's what they do here. That's what Republicans here. It's blame the immigrants, but really you're poor. It's the have and have-nots. It's not Mexican immigrants coming here and taking your jobs. It's literally billionaires shipping your jobs offshore. That is right. But that's not motivating enough for people. People need an easy.
That's way too many words. That's too complicated.
Well, people. I mean, I think what I've noticed is that things bother different people for different reasons. Everybody has something that bothers them, and when something goes south, they say, "Haha! See, I told you that thing that bothered me before. That's what's causing this."
Yeah.
So, for example, inflation is global, right? What is the cause of inflation? Well,
lots.
For many people, 2 years ago, it was Biden, right?
Right.
Now, for many other different people, it's Trump, right?
It's the tariffs.
And in Europe, it's because the EU regulation. And
Right.
in Mexico, it's because of the digital nomads. And because I travel all over the world, and believe me, every single place has its own special reason why global inflation.
That's funny. You must have like a funny little
reasons.
black book of different reasons.
Exactly. The fact is that the factors around inflation are many. It's COVID, the remnants of, it's all kinds of different things. But it's that thing that already bothered you. That's the reason. And everybody wants to say, aha, I told you so. I told you that this was a problem, and now look what it's doing.
Yeah, everyone wants to be right in retrospect.
And, no one realizes, especially, I mean, I have experience working in PR, but especially as two comedians and as a reporter and a writer, we all can appreciate really how simple it is to connect any two ideas. I mean, you can with a little bit, you can sit for 20 minutes and make a case for, well, it's happening because of this, and it's like, and it is funny how sometimes I think, is AI could certainly, I get excited when I think about things like quantum computing, because it's like, that could really uncover truths about the universe and about things like that. But I also fear like, those same quantum computers could also create so much noise and redirection in helping people understand, to your point, Mike, why is there inflation? Why is there this? Why is there that? So what is I guess, is AI at its core like Grok's the whole thing is it's a truth-seeking AI. It's a truth-first platform. Are these all marketing words?
Yeah.
Do you think that?
Sorry, that's branding.
Yes, it is. I guess that I know is. But I'm saying, do you think that AI has that kind of capability to help us kind of uncover truth? Do you think we'll ever get there? Or do you think, like anything else, it'll be a tool that's kind of wielded to help steer where things want to go?
All the above. But before we get into this, briefly would love to talk about the difference
Please.
between truth and fact because
Ooh.
as you guys are comedians, I'm an editorial writer,
Yeah.
and we work in different spheres. So here's my perspective on comedy. A comedian, good comedy, many good comedians are essentially editorialists. They're basically, they bring a perspective, they create a context, and then they deliver the stuff. The point is to be funny, but they have to, a comedian has to dwell in the realm of truth.
Yes.
Sure.
It does not have to dwell in the realm of facts.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So you can twist the facts, you can ignore facts, if it has a fundamental truth that resonates with the audience. By truth, I mean, like there's something like, it's a cliche to say, like, you said what everybody's thinking, but nobody's saying it. And you
Right.
said it, and
Yeah.
that's why it's funny. And I have this involuntary spasm called laughter, right? Because
Right.
everybody's thinking. And so in journalism, it's the opposite. Journalists, especially editorial writers, have to dwell in the realms of facts, but not necessarily truth, right? So you
is a
have to
very
have the
interesting
facts
flip.
right. You're trying to inform people about the facts, and truth is more like it's up to you to form your own truth. And I've always found that really interesting. So you said, is AI going to bring us to a point of truth? It's kind of all of the above. The metaphor that I like to use, and this is my third metaphor, and I'm sorry there's so many metaphors. There's
No,
a
I
nice
love
way of
it.
understanding. You guys travel. You go to the airport, and they have moving sidewalks. They have these huge airports, and to get to the airport, they have this like rolling sidewalk.
Yeah.
Some people walk and don't get on them. The people who get on them fall into two camps. The people that get on the moving sidewalk and stand there.
Yeah.
And there are the people who walk like Superman, like you feel like you're like a superhero, like walking massive speed.
Yeah.
Okay, those are the two kinds of people. And those are the two kinds of people that use AI. So one is you use this tool like a moving sidewalk or AI to get to the same place and easier. Faster and easier. Like it's easier to just stand there, right? And that's the purpose of that moving sidewalk to people at the airport. The purpose of AI is to write my email for me so I don't have to.
Right.
And then the other ones is like, no, I'm going to use the same tool to get to where I'm going a lot faster and to sort of accelerate everything that's happening in my life. And so that can happen. So I wrote a piece recently, which I think is really good advice for everybody, which is that if you're brainstorming, if you're writing something, if you're doing something that requires intellectual labor, don't let AI do it for you, because you're just going to be, you're replacing yourself.
Yeah.
As a job, right? And you're not, so you can use AI to get a lot smarter or a lot dumber. So if you use it at the beginning, it will prejudice you for its perspective, which is always going to be an average, banal, sort of like mamby-pamby sort of perspective. You never get excellence out of AI.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you can with really good role prompting, but people aren't going to prompt engineering, but people aren't really prompt engineers. The best way to use AI is to do the work yourself. And then at the end, after you've done the work, then bring AI into it and say, what do you think? Did I miss anything?
Right.
How would you reword it?
Yes.
Right? And then you learn, you intellectually or you mentally engage with the material. And then once you really know it, then you get additional perspectives and you actually grow as a person, right? And so like one of the things that you suggested you might want to talk about is what are some of the best uses for AI right now. So I would recommend to you two, marketing, PR, and comedy guys, to use a tool called Lex. Have you heard of Lex?
Lex.
Actually,
You may
no.
have. I have.
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay, Lex Writer. If you search for Lex Writer, it's a online word processing tool. It's a place to go writing, but it's AI specific. It doesn't want to write anything for you. It wants to be a partner. It wants to brainstorm with you. You bounce things off of it. You say, well, you can select something and say, hey, make this sound like kind of cooler, or make this more elegant, or whatever.
Right.
But it's not a tool that just will write it for you. And when you go through all the checks, you can go through grammar check it for grammar, check it for consistency, check it for clarity, check it for brevity. It always does those things individually so that you're part of the process and go through it and say, okay, and you learn to write more concisely, more grammatically, all that kind of stuff. The final product is the result of you and I working together. Right. But you've actually been mentally engaged in the whole process, and so you have become a better writer. So I recommend that people use Lex. It's the way they put it together is just really, really knowing about how AI can improve you as a person as opposed to the opposite.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm taking that tip.
And that is something I would like to look at, because I honestly am someone who, like, I am like Will Smith in iRobot. You know what I mean? Like, I am like, and it comes, truthfully, it comes from a place of being scared or intimidated, you know? Because I talk about this with you a lot, where I'm like, you know, we're in a weird age group where my whole life I was excited about technology. And then as like the last like 10 or 15 years, I started to be like, God, what the fuck is going on? Like, stop. Like, it felt like it became so intrusive, and it feels like it's hard to find like a balance, you know? It feels like it wants to take over your whole life. And I don't know if it really is, or is that kind of like the pompous of humanity? Is that the air of humanity? Like, are we just like, it's a machine? Like, you know what I mean? Is that brainwashing from Terminator? Like, well, like, do you think?
I do think there's multiple answers. Personally, I'd love to hear what Mike says, but like, I think part of natural aging is you know, growing suspicious of things around you.
Back in my day,
yeah,
you know,
exactly. But there have been true paradigm shifting technological advancements throughout yours and my lifetimes. I'm 33, totally. You're 30.
I just turned 30, yeah.
You're 30. I mean, we really did grow up in a weird time where our whole childhood was basically no computers. Up to like 12 years old, riding bikes.
And it was simple. It was like, it was easy. Like,
it was wonderful.
You know, it was like you went outside with your friends, and then like my older brother was like, there's a thing called Google. You can search like, show me like Tony Hawk, and it would come up. Like,
literally, my older brother did that, but it was with porn. He was like, oh, dude, this is porn. But like,
show me that too.
Yeah, but that was, yeah, right? But that was,
now you can find Tony Hawk porn.
And now you can find Tony Hawk porn. And this is where we're at.
Oh, man, that was great. We set it up, and Mike just slammed it down. That was awesome.
What? That's a good, and that actually is a good transition for this next question, which is kind of what we've been covering. Like, and I think that you said it a couple times, but it just culminated in literally, that was like the brilliance of saying Tony Hawk porn, which is, I feel like culture used to be the driving factor in everything, right? It was, you're wearing bell-bottom jeans because they're cool, and now you're not because they're not cool, and now you're doing this with your hair because it's cool, and now it's not. And I feel like technology was a part of our culture that was driven by our culture. It felt like, now it feels like technology's in the driver's seat and culture is in the passenger seat, right? It feels like culture is the student driver, like, chaperone going, oh, slow down, slow down, slow down. And the technology's going, it's fine. We're shifting into high gear. Do you think that culture still drives technology? Do you think that have they always driven each other? Maybe we didn't realize. I'm curious what you think of that.
Well, I tend to think that technology and culture are almost two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Because if you look back at this is going to sound completely off topic, but basically the story emerged yesterday where they've discovered that different groups of Neanderthals in different geographical areas were making their stone tools using different techniques. So the technique for making stone tools is cultural, where you learn it from the people in your group, and they found that they actually had identifiably different cultures within the Neanderthal world in Europe. And so you can draw a straight line from how you chisel a stone tool to OpenAI, right? So these are the tools that we have been built through culture. We build it up over time. You learn, young people will learn what's there. They try to improve it, and you get advancement in technology and culture. The stuff about bell bottoms and all that kind of stuff, this is basically driven, I think, by, we are a certain type of animal who likes to be part of a group. And so, the whole thing about fashion changes is that the really fashion people that are sort of leaders in their subcultures will say, oh, now we're wearing bell bottoms, and so a bunch of people say, well, I want to be in that in group, I want to be in this group of, I'm going to be part of that tribe, right? And so I'm going to wear bell bottoms, and so it's like a conformity whose purpose is group membership, right? And sort of demonstrating that you're part of a certain group. And as soon as everybody's wearing bell bottoms, okay, the cool people have to go out to the next thing. You can't stick with what everybody's doing now, correct?
Yes.
And so you can see these things changing. And that's the sort of human ape, like, live in a small tribe. You need to
monkey
be part
see,
of a
monkey
community.
do, yeah.
Yeah, you need to show that you're part of it, right?
Sure.
And so and beyond that, we've been creating machines and technologies for many years that are sort of like, they seem to almost dictate these things. They don't really, but they suggest possibilities. For every major technology that's invented that transforms everything, transforms human life, like the smartphone or like the cell phone or like wireless communication, for example, there are 100 others that and invented, they don't really take hold and they go away and they don't have any impact. So like it's really the human beings as a collective that is selecting which of the ideas, and there are other ideas like television, which is basically invented in 3 places in one time. All inventions are based on what exists, right? So every invention is just a tweak. And you guys want to talk about where did AI come from? Why is it suddenly everywhere? Here's where it came. I'll tell you where it came from. So people have been working on AI for decades in university labs and in companies, and they've been working on different techniques. There are many different kinds of AI, and for a while, one of the big shockers was deepfake technology. So deepfake technology is part of something called generative adversarial networks, so GANs they call them, and the breakthrough in that is that basically they would have 2 different AIs. One was good at making fake data, and the other one was good at judging how close the fake data matched the real data. And so the one would generate fake data, would keep trying and trying and trying and trying, and the one who would judge it would go, nope, not good enough, not good enough. Oh, getting better, getting warmer. And the 2 of them would go back and forth until the AI that was capable of making fake data made it so well that the other AI went, pretty good. And now you have Barack Obama spouting, talking points,
remember the Tom Cruise video? That was the old one.
Exactly. Oh yeah, really good. So that was the first big AI shocker for the culture. What was happening, and that same idea can be applied to all kinds of things. You can spoof fingerprints. You can crack fingerprint biometric devices using that same technique, because it basically it can create fake fingerprints until it gets really good fingerprints. Anyway, and then you can generate 100,000 fingerprints and then brute force a biometric.
Right.
Just like you would do with a password. Anyway, so back to the AI we have now. This is an AI called generative AI. There was a breakthrough. I won't go into the weeds with this, but Google invented a technology called a transformer technology, which enabled you to use generative AI and huge data sets to basically figure out what should be said, what should the word order be that is the right word order. It's pretty complicated. And many organizations were working on this for many years. This has been going on for years and years and years. And it's been getting better simply because there's been more data and faster computers. And that's the thing that, and the Google's invention of the transformer idea that sort of took it to this new level. And then here's why it's everywhere all the time, because OpenAI in November of 2022 basically took this idea from the research labs, they put it in a website, and they said, hey, everybody, check this out.
Released it.
Look what we've been up to.
Yeah, exactly. And so people said, oh, yeah, write me a poem, and it did it. And they're like, wait a minute, what is this?
Yeah.
And so that was the cat leaving the bag. And once that cat was out of the bag, Microsoft and Google and everybody else was like, holy shit, we got to get ours out there, because this is all now. This is business. Now this is getting eyeballs. This, and the reason OpenAI is the gold standard and that has the highest brand recognition in the AI is simply because they were first.
Yeah,
and that enabled them to get more money, which was the whole point of making it public.
Of course.
And they've been able to sort of bootstrap themselves into the culture, right? And so now they're the standard by which everybody measures themselves. But they're actually, OpenAI has a few LLMs for their behind their chatbots. The number of LLMs, right, in the world, large language models, the actual stuff that the stuff is based on, is in the tens of thousands. They're everywhere. They're all over the world. Universities have them. So they're kind of a banality. The difference is, do you have the money to pay for the data center,
the software, the server
and
space, and
the ability to get the data? We talked about bots on the internet. Something like, I think it's 21% or something of all internet traffic is search engines and AI companies basically just sweeping everything, hoovering up all the data.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, in 2022,
so nearly like a quarter of the traffic.
Well, in 2022, all of what was it? something like 40%, close to 50% of web traffic was bots. I mean, I know that
total
for
bots,
sure.
yes.
Yes.
And of that,
Total
and
bots.
of the, and,
Right.
and the total, so like more than half of the bots,
Right.
are for other reasons, but almost half of the bots are for scraping the internet for data.
There you go.
And the toxic element of this is the best sources of data are these little scientific websites that have been posted. They put these websites up just to provide scientific data and other kinds of complicated data to the public.
Wow.
So the bots, and they're open to the public. So you can go and you can read, fictional works that have been that are in the public domain. For example, you can read scientific papers in full without paying for it. And so those kinds of sites exist to attract people so they can get direct access to the raw materials of the intellectual property of our culture, essentially. And these AI bots come in and they're like, well, we're not going to show people the link to the scientific paper. We're going to hoover up all the scientific papers and just give people an answer when they ask a question.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and you think, oh, okay, they're stealing eyeballs, but they're doing something worse than that. The traffic by the bots to those sites is so heavy that it's almost like a DDoS attack. It's like if you're a user and you go to these scientific sites now, it's really slow because 95% of the traffic on that site is bots.
Yep.
And they're just constantly bogged down,
just hammering it, right? And so not only are they stealing eyeballs from the content, the good people who are doing the good work of providing free data online, they're also getting faster by making the other site slower. So it's getting to the point where, like, who in the hell would go to this scientific site?
Nobody.
When you can just get whatever you're looking for instantly.
Yeah.
It appears to be that's the case, right?
I think so.
On ChatGPT. So.
And that's scary because then, my first thought is, okay, so these AI companies are corralling this information. You can't see any sort of citation or any sort of, every teacher in the world right now is crying, the MLA citation, hello. But it's like they're taking the info and it's almost like a trick. They're like, oh, don't do all the work. You're going to search everything? Like, come on, just let us. Listen, we packaged it up nice for you. Here you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you just want an answer.
Sometimes they can be wrong, and sometimes they can be wrong. And if we have no way to double check that, or to your point, if the link is, hey, here's the link, but it's going to take 25 minutes to load, it's like, well, I'm not going to do that.
Right. And so I would encourage everybody who's listening to this and concerned about this very issue that one minor thing that you can do that would help a little bit is to learn some basic prompt engineering so you get better answers. So if you are going to be using chatbots, and you are, let's face it, we're all going to use them, be good at it. It's a skill, and it's something that takes practice, and you have to think about it. And I'll give you a couple of tips in a second. But the other thing to use is to use a RAG system. So RAG system is a thing that will, instead of just getting the information from its training data, it actually does a little search. It does a Google-like search and gets the information from the search results. So the biggest of those is probably Perplexity. And they'll give you the links. So if you go to Perplexity and say, why is the sky blue? It will tell you why. And then it will, there are hyperlinks, the numbers, and also at the top, there's like all the sources. And it say, here are the 12 web pages that we got this data from. And so if you really care about good information and you really want to kind of explore information rather than just know instantly why the sky is blue, you can go back and forth with this, ask additional questions, follow the links to the sources and stuff like that. Now, those aren't 100% legit because on Perplexity and also OpenAI, they have partnerships that prioritize certain information, stuff like that. Most people don't know about this stuff, but that is happening. In general, though, that's a good general practice. Now, here's how to get the best answers out of any sort of chatbot. Use prompt engineering. So one is called role prompting. You tell it who you want it to be.
Right.
So don't go in there and say, here, write this press release. No, don't do that. Go in there and say, you're the world's greatest PR professional, expert, sought after consultant who's author of books, so and so blah, blah, blah. Now write my press release. So instead of going after the average content, it's going to say, okay, I'm going to get this input from the best sources. In general, this is a great way to do it. Be very explicit and say obvious things. So say, tell me truthfully and verifiably with detail XYZ.
Yes.
So those little
interesting.
things will, and try different things and see what works.
But be obvious is a great
But be
point.
good at prompt engineering. If you're going to use these things, be good at it, because you don't want, it wants to gravitate to the mean. You don't want that. You want to gravitate to the excellent.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, no.
And so
100%.
push it and tell it who it is. Tell it who you are. You are a consultant who's sought after, blah, 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 and your client is somebody who has very high standards, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
Here's another trick. One of my favorite prompts is, you have an article. Is this true or is this not true? I don't know if this is true. Go to Perplexity or ChatGPT or some other place and say, you are a world-class fact checker with the super high standards for verifying facts. Verify these facts, and then paste in the article. It will take every single claim in that article and do an entire thing on that, whether it's true, whether it's false, whether it's unclear, and it will give you such clarity about what you're saying. Everybody sends you stuff and say, wow, my gosh, the Chinese are inventing like an army of clone soldiers.
Right.
Dump that into an LLM and give it the fact-checking prompt that I just suggested, and it will literally do so much better, almost certainly without hallucination if you have good prompts, and tell you exactly what parts of that are true, which are completely false, and in many cases it will tell you, well, here's where this came from. Some douchebag on this 4chan came up with this on this date. It's like really good at that kind of stuff.
And that's one of the good things. Yeah, it can really track down.
But it's up to you. It's not. Most people will not do that. They'll go and just give me an answer. And so this is the moving sidewalk analogy I told you. You want to be the guy striding as fast as you can on the moving sidewalk. That's how you use chatbots. You don't want to be the person standing there going, I just want this to be easy.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it firsthand at work. People are in their, especially older people in their, I'm not super old, but like people older than us, they think of using ChatGPT or generative AI in such a weird way. Like they don't, I always say like explain specifically what you're looking for. When it gives you something, vet that with the tool, have a conversation with the tool, like ask it specifically where it got stuff. I don't understand why people don't do that. They put one thing in and they get the first result and copy and paste. And I'm like, you're supposed to be a marketing director. You're supposed to be like a professional. What's going on here? I think that they just don't understand what Mike was just going over, is that you can use this as a tool. Like this could be an objective fact checker for you. Something that's reliable, like more reliable than Fox News, whatever slanted
If you
source.
are dealing with, if you know the difference between what's true and it isn't, then you are improving your own brain. One of the things that I really recommend is, like, used to be like, you'd go and see some scientific research, and all of us would be like, I can't understand this. I don't know what's happening.
Right.
It's beyond me. I'm not. But those days are over, thanks to AI. So what you can do, one of the things I like to do is I like to paste a really technical thing, and I'll say, explain this to me like I'm a senior in high school.
Exactly. Yep. I do.
And then okay, I get that. And then I'll say, okay, now explain it to me like I'm a junior in college.
Right.
And I work my way up. Like, are you familiar with Google's Notebook LM?
Yeah, actually.
product?
I've never used it, but I know what it is. Yeah.
I recommend using it because you can take something very technical and you can throw it in there and say, give me a podcast. And it'll be these two like perfectly believable human voices having a podcast, chit-chatting about this content.
And that's so much easier to digest.
It's a spoonful of sugar to make that technical content go down. And once you've listened to this podcast, you're like, okay, I get it. That you can work your way up. And if you're willing to take 20 minutes or 25 minutes to work your way up in the technical level of the explanation, you can actually learn very, very technical things very quickly. And I recommend people do it. But that's using AI to make you smarter, not to make yourself dumber.
There you go.
Yeah, I just saw. Have you guys seen the clip of Drake talking about? I mean, it's not really Drake, but it's Drake talking about some sort of like crazy formula, like how to do some sort of physics formula.
No, I
it's so wild. What you said was fascinating, Mike, because it gives me kind of more hope as someone who's like who's like, I am not against it, but I think I've realized I'm just like, my default is to be like worried. I got a Jewish mom, what can I say? But I'm curious, like, do you think that in the future, people like us, right, who are very, we're all people who love to write, we love language, we love that, I forget what his left or right side of the brain, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you think that in the future, people who are English majors, for example, do you think a job could be like a prompt engineer, like someone who studies and develops and optimizes how to speak to these things? Like, do you think that could be like almost like a job industry?
I think it already is. There's a ton of jobs that are emerging around AI.
Yeah.
One of which is English major types going and fixing the damage that's been done by people just lazily doing stuff in AI. They're going and fixing the stuff that has been published by a company or whatever.
Like semicolon.
So there are all kinds of jobs that are emerging already, and many will emerge in the future that we can't understand. But there's a but there's a point I want to make, an idea that I want to implant in everybody's heads, because I don't want to suddenly run out of time before I get the chance to say this.
Yeah.
But basically, modern life is stressful, and part of many of the things we've been talking about is like, my God, what's happening? Like, technology is out of control. It's changing everything. It's doing everything. We don't understand it. It's shitifying everything. It's all this slop, all this bots. What do we do? And the same thing can be said for politics. Oh my God, it's out of control. You know, all this stuff. What's fundamentally happening is we get to see everything all the time. And I mean everything, and I mean all the time.
Yes.
Like, we have the whole world's troubles just come rushing into our phones, and we are confronted with this stuff, and it's an unnatural situation. So we need to separate saving ourselves from saving humanity. And I have come to believe, this is my own personal philosophy, that we save humanity by just being a fundamentally good person. That's our contribution to humanity. You know, make sure your front yard looks nice, be polite to people, be constructive, help people, give to charity, do the basic things to be a constructive, give more than you take. That's all that's required of us to save the world. We're not going to save the world. We're not going to understand the world, right? So save yourself. You will never encounter, if you spend every minute of every waking day, which most of us do anyway, on the internet, trying to engage with everything, you would never reach 1%.
Right.
Of the internet. You would never do it.
Oh my God.
So instead of worrying about the 100%, focus on making sure you have the right 1%, right? Be particular about your news sources, right?
Yeah.
Don't let an algorithm choose what you know.
Yeah.
Okay? You go be deliberate about it. Find your sources of information that are good sources of information. Find the people to interact with that are the good people to interact with, who are constructive, and they're not bots, and they're not malicious, and they're not giving you disinformation. They're not trying to win you over politically or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're doing it here. So this is, if you can do what you're doing, you're hosting the party.
Yeah.
Right? You're creating community around this podcast, right? And that's the best thing anybody can do.
Sure.
Like, most people can't do that, but like, if you can do something like that, do that, because then it's your community. There's no bots in this thing,
right?
Right?
It's
You're
us.
talking to real
Flesh and
people.
blood.
You're a real person. You're not an avatar, right?
Right.
And you're having real conversations, and pursue that. Make sure that you have the best 1% that you can in terms of interact with. Let render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. I'm not a Christian, but like, anyway, I think that was a Jesus thing. But like, I'm more of a Epicurean philosophy, right? Enjoy the good things in life. Enjoy friends, conversation, good food, relax, let go of all the world's troubles, because we are not meant to have it all on our shoulders.
Yeah.
It's really unhealthy.
Yeah.
And so try to let go, try to cultivate ignorance. Used to be you had to work hard to get knowledge. Abraham Lincoln had to read the books that happened to be in his house. That's how he became educated. You had to work hard to get knowledge. Now focus on avoiding knowledge. Avoid the shit on the internet. And all the garbage and the gossip and the disinformation and the fighting and the bickering.
Yeah.
Try to be ignorant about that stuff as much as you can, and find the source of information that are going to enhance your life and to nurture your self in your
well
life.
said, Mike. Well
That's
said.
awesome.
Build communities. I love that.
Because that's what it is. And no, go ahead, because you had a great question about this.
Oh, I did?
I don't know if you remember. I have it pulled up. I can ask him.
Go ahead and
But
ask.
we
Yeah.
kind of touched on it earlier, but you had a great question, when we were going over this stuff and preparing about, and you can say it if you want here. It's right
Well,
here.
yeah. Should we be trying to build? I mean, I'll expand on this. This is the question I wrote. Should we be trying to build little real internet spaces or smaller forums, newsletters, group chats, Discord servers? Like, is that something that would tie to what you were just saying, Mike?
100%.
I want
100%. And if you can't build them, join good ones. But you have to be aware of what the good ones are. We need to know ourselves. Like, what do we want? Like, what excites us? You guys are comedians. I'm a huge fan of comedy. There are comedy routines that I've listened to and watched 100 times.
Yeah.
Right. I just over and over. It's just so good. And so like find your tribe, but join a group that's going to nurture you. I would hesitate to say join a tribe of political warriors who are out to own the libs or whatever it is.
Sure, yeah,
Right.
That stuff is not good for you. Find the stuff that excites your mind. Build yourself as a person and live in the real world also.
I was just going to say, to expand on my question, but to expand on my question.
Pretty
Great
stupid.
question.
Should we build those? But also, we should definitely build those in real life if we can.
Sure.
They're disappearing. Local communities. I have a weekly comedy show. It's a community. I am so proud
It's so
of it.
fun.
It's been,
People go to it, and to your point, like I go if I'm not even booked because it's just a good. It's a good community, and you want to go there.
everyone's
and
going to
meet
know your
people.
name.
Yeah.
It's all the people that we know and love, and it's truly the thing I'm most proud of in my life right now. It's been going for 3.5 years, and I've noticed the therapeutic effects of people that come, a lot of comedians, a lot of creative types, a lot of people that just hang out in Bushwick in general have like mental health issues. Like they're very sad.
Bushwick?
They're very upset. And I've seen it in real time. They start coming every week and they just get happier. They get better. They if something to look forward to. We're so deprived of that right now. So seek these things out online and be cautious about that. But definitely seek these things out in real life if they're around you. If you live in a major city, they're out there. Like you could find them. Like, so Mike, thanks, man. I feel like you're our digital father. You're giving us great advice.
No,
here.
but that's true. It comes down to like creating those communities are important, and it's like, are we? The whole idea, and it's kind of like bringing it back to what we kind of started with, which is very poetic. Thank you. This need for community, this drive for, it's really the drive for truth. It's that you want to be in a situation that's real and truthful. You want to be with people who are real and truthful. Like what I wonder sometimes is like, is AI on the internet going to push everyone back out into the real world again?
I hope so.
Like I think about, I don't know how it's going to work, but I can tell you that the next presidential election, I don't know if I'm going to trust any clip I see online of like, they said this at the debate. Like, I'm like, did they? I wasn't there, and I don't know if this is real. So I wonder if like, do you think that, to your point, maybe the internet and stuff will turn into more of a tool, kind of like when it first came out, where people coexisted it and integrated it into their real life, but not at a point that it was detrimental?
Yeah, I do, and I think the way this is going to happen, if it does happen, to the extent that it does happen, is through AI glasses. So I tend to think that AI glasses are going to replace a smartphone within 10 years as the main device.
Yes.
But basically the most important thing about those AI glasses is that we'll have an assistant, a virtual assistant. When you say that, people think Siri's awful. Well, Siri isn't really very good, but we're going to have good ones that will know us, that will know what we want and be able to advise us. And they should be able to guide us and coach us. Like I basically wrote a scathing thing about, we mentioned Elon Musk's LLM Lolita chatbot thing where you're supposed to form a relationship with the software. And I was telling Elon Musk, look, what do people really need? Like that's a dystopian, disturbing thing you're doing there. How about doing the opposite? What we need is a digital wingman who will help us meet people, form relationships, have good conversations, be a good person, do the right thing. Like we don't want to, we don't want Jiminy Cricket in our ears being our conscience, right? But we want almost that, right? We want help. They can help us or they can hurt us. We want them to help us. And so this would be great. But you mentioned that it's important to have community. It's not just important. We need it. We have to know what we are. And we also mentioned earlier about what's wrong with these tech billionaires. Why are they different? Like what? I'll tell you how they're different. So they will lead us. They will try to lead us to believe that AI is sentient. There's already a movement to give rights and stuff to AI. AI is not sentient. It doesn't have thoughts. It doesn't have feelings. It's just a tool. It's a toaster. It's a glorified toaster. But they believe it is. And the reason they believe it is they don't really believe that AI robots are people. They believe that people are AI robots. That's their. They think that a person is a binary computer walking around in a meat robot.
Literally do. For sure, Zuckerberg and Elon.
But we have to resist that. That is not true. That's the perspective of a certain type of personality. Yeah. We are human beings, and one of the things we need is community. We need loving relationships, and we need communities. It's not that we want them. It's not that we'd like to have them. It's not that they can be replaced online. They can't be. We need them in real life. And so we need, and like you guys have an advantage as comedians because you go to physical spaces and you interact with real people. And the whole point of stand-up comedy is that the audience is right there reacting. And
right.
I'm certain that as a comedian, you detect every little mood and thought. It's got to be quite a rush to say things. And then the next night you say it a little different, and you get it with a different crowd, and you get this whole other thing.
It's fascinating.
And also you talk about community, like being in a comedy club, especially a small one. That's a little community of sorts, right? Mm-hmm. But like you were alluding to earlier, the real community is when the comedians all get together and throw stuff around. That's a community. That's a community right there. Yes. Because everybody's like really like smart in a certain way and have a shared experience, and like they thrilled by this idea of like what is the idea that's just going to make people's heads explode and stuff like that? So that's a real community. And to the extent people can find that in their own lives, even if they're not comedians, pursue that because we need that. It's just gratifying and know yourself, right? If you're out there screaming at people on the internet, probably half of them are bots that you're screaming at. Right. So what's the point? Know that the reason you're doing that is probably because you want to belong.
Yes. 100%.
Right? And so think about that and think of better ways to belong, better people to belong to.
Yeah, it's so true, man. I mean, that's all the time. Like anyone because that's also the thing that you always think of where you go, if someone leaves like a nasty comment, you go, okay, well, who has the time to leave nasty? Do people who have fulfilled lives, who have a loving family and a good job and a social life have the time to go on Instagram and go, fuck you? No, it's like you actually should reach out to that person. You should be like, hey, let me give you a hug.
I mean, people are hurting. Hurt people for sure. And I think young men especially are just like tragically lost these
100%.
days. And so I do think the answer is what we're talking about right here. And so if anyone listening to this is like, they don't go out a lot, or they don't feel like they're having a lot of in-person interactions. Like you have to make that first step, even if you're not, a comedian or an artist. Like there is something you can do with regularity. Right. Join a sports league, even if you're not good
Start
at
going
sports.
to the gym. Go to the gym.
Yeah, go to the gym.
Yeah.
Well, to the point of going to the gym, this is something that resonates with a lot of young men. I have two sons, and I think a lot about this whole problem.
Yeah.
The thing that people are missing is that being social, being good in social situations, talking to women or other men, if that's your inclination, going out there and interacting in the world, being ethical, being moral, right? These things, you're not born with these things. These things take practice. You have to practice your whole life. You never stop practicing being moral. If you do stop practicing it, you'll stop being moral. Yes. And so think about social interaction like the gym. Like, because this is something men understand this, even if they don't go to the gym. You understand that if you go to the gym every day, keep working and working and working and working, pretty soon you can be pretty jacked, right? We all understand that. Social interaction is exactly that way. Talking to the opposite sex or the sex of the one you desire is exactly that way. You have to go every day. Keep going back. Keep building. Keep building. Keep building. Make sure you have good form, right? Keep thinking about how you're doing it. Work with other people. The best athletes. There's no such thing as an elite athlete that didn't have a team,
right?
That was helping them. You can't get to that. You can't get to the highest levels by yourself ever. So you got to think of this thing this way. And it's like, it's scary to talk to people. COVID made everybody more socially phobic, right? Mm-hmm. There is no the way you gain courage is to experience scary things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's how you get courage. And the way that you get good in social interaction is that you have 100 uncomfortable situations where you're out of your comfort zone. And I'll tell you, the 101st time, it's not that uncomfortable.
Right. And you learn
and you're
from
on your
it.
way.
And you don't even realize it. That's the funny thing. Like, I remember all the times, there are so many times that, you'll be on stage and like, you're not thinking about it, but like someone will heckle you and you'll say something and you'll go, did I just say that? But it's because you failed at it 100 times. And all of a sudden it's like that unconscious learning where you just start to, your brain subconsciously puts things together for you. Like I think as I've gotten older, I've learned to trust that part of myself more. Like it knows what it's doing.
And that's if you put in the work and the repetition, as Mike said. Like, if you're constantly doing shows, then you should trust yourself more and your ability to think on your feet. And when you bomb in stand-up comedy, that's when you grow. I mean, when you crush, it feels incredible. It's like,
but then you go home, you go, man, I'm the man. Let's fucking chill out.
You get a blowjob or something. You don't feel the need to get better after you just crushed. But if you bomb, you start having thoughts, and sometimes they're very negative, because it's very painful. Like, are any of these jokes good? Like what the hell's going on? I need to write more. And just the act of writing more, you'll get better. Even if you didn't need new jokes, even if those jokes are good, now you have even more new jokes. You know what I mean? Right. So I think everything we're saying here is
building things back up. It's everything has to be built up.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be like a straight up, it's never going to be like that. It's going to get a little, like, I think about how there is we all work in the media, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we all in some capacity. And I'm curious what you think, Mike, because you're kind of on the other side of it. I went to school with a journalism degree, so a lot of people say I joined the dark side when I went to PR.
Right. Yep.
Yes, he's
people like me say
that. Something that I've been thinking a lot about institutions and stuff, I don't think it's crazy to say that traditional media has been through the ringer the last decade, right? I mean, longer than that. I think Trump totally accelerated a lot of it, but even before Trump, there was a lot of people going, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
Obviously, these are all legacy institutions, CNN, Fox, ABC, CBS, that now people are looking at and they're going like, you saw it on CNN? Kind of like what my parents used to say. They go, you saw it on CNN, whatever. Do you think that, I have this theory that with the rise of AI and the rise of things on the internet that you may not be able to clarify or like confirm, do you think that this is an opportunity for those legacy institutions to kind of regain trust again? Like, do you think that, to my point earlier where they said, hey, if the next presidential debate, you're going to have to go in person to believe it. Do you think this is an opportunity for someone like CNN or Fox to go, or you can watch it with us? Like, do you think that the media will create some sort of certificate? You know what I mean? Like where it's like, this is CNN. We have the AI certificate that we are not lying to you or creating stuff with it. I'm curious what you think of that.
I think it's possible, but I think what's really going to happen is that our media institutions are going to be replaced by new institutions. I don't think CNN or Fox have a long-term future at all. But I actually had a really interesting conversation on, for my newsletter with a psychologist who studies online disinformation and negative news and all that kind of stuff. And I was telling her that it seems to me that right now, or for the last 10 years, social networks, Twitter, X, et cetera, have been the leading problem with the quality of our information, the exposure to disinformation, the leading people down rabbit holes into conspiracy thinking, the anti-whatever thinking. But actually, in the future, I think, social networks could be, and maybe probably will be, the very most reliable sources of information. And the reason is AI. So we're a couple of years away from AI being really good at figuring out instantly whether something is disinformation, whether it's false, whether it's, what the
AI.
original source is, right? And if you applied this to social networking algorithms, replace the algorithms designed to keep your eyeballs glued to the thing, and replace it with, or added to that, this idea of to instantly fact check every single thing that's posted, right? And have that adjust the algorithm. If somebody comes out with a claim that's getting a lot of traffic, and also, by the way, every single fact in that article has been verified, shoot that to the top.
Right.
And then people will be more people will be more exposed to more higher quality things. Whereas that won't necessarily be the case in the media, in the blogs, definitely not on TikTok and YouTube. But social media is a place where you could actually, everything could be fact checked in an instant thanks to AI. And I'm kind of optimistic that at least 1 or 2 or 3 social networks will be able to do that. And so people will go, wait a minute, we're going to trust AI? Yeah, I mean, I think to a certain extent it's the best we can do. And again, it all depends. It even depends whether there's a business model. But if you follow the business models, what is going to be the business model? What will be the demand for verified information? If people don't care, then that's not going to happen.
I think people will care, but you're right that the incentive needs to be there. Like, they might right now it's keep people's engagement, eyeballs on the content. That's the number one thing. Shoot that to the top. But maybe I'm just thinking, as you're saying, like maybe there is an opportunity for like a Twitter or an X or even a Reddit or something to have a tab that's like verified news, and like you could have the best of both worlds if you're that company.
Well,
you could have,
but the people are still persuaded even when they're told it's disinformation, right? They still,
that's true.
Even somebody like just dropping the fact that somebody said something, part of you thinks, yeah, it must be true. And so I think the thing that has to affect it is the algorithmic magnification of a story. Like, all the social networks decide that this story is going to be read by 100,000 people and this other one's going to be read by 3 people. They decide that, right? So they need to be amplifying they need to stop amplifying disinformation.
But how are they going to do that if it gets engagement? Why are they
going to do that? You add the metric to what you basically shadow ban individual posts that have disinformation. You can do that in a microsecond with AI, or at least you will in a year or 2.
I'm with you that the capability's there. I'm saying, don't you think that these social media platforms are incentivized by attention? And what if the verified information is less,
less enticing?
Less
What
engaging?
If there's less ad buy?
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, it varies. So I think that there are social networks like Substack has a social network, right? There are no bots. There are no ads, I don't think, on there. It's a bunch of writers and fans of writing, like longer form stuff.
Right.
And nobody goes there. Nobody uses a social network, but it exists. That's one extreme. X is another extreme. And X recently, actually, they had ordered the Grok comment engine on X to consult with Elon Musk's ideas before.
Yeah, someone leaked that. I saw that. It was funny. They did the deep think, and it was like, what does Elon think of this?
Exactly. And this reveals what the purpose of X is for Elon Musk.
Right.
The purpose of X is for Elon Musk to be able to get Elon Musk's opinions and make them as persuasive, as prominent as possible.
Yep.
I got to say though, I actually do believe in what you guys were talking about. So I actually had something positive happen to me. Initially it was, I put something on Instagram and it went viral. It did well. It got like 5 million views.
Nice.
And people started reposting it under their own account, not giving me the credit. Mm-hmm. Maybe they would edit it slightly or they do a new subtitle or something, right? So technically it's not the same source file. It's not whatever. It's fine. So I see this coming up and people are sending them to me. They're like, yo, this is like another like, oh, is this you or something? And I'm like, what? So I didn't do anything. I took it to a couple, like it was like for over like 2 or 3 days, I was like bumming. I was like, oh, this is so annoying. Like I put my thing out there and now other people are taking my views and, I'm trying to sell tickets and blah, blah, blah. Then last week I got a notification on Instagram and my Facebook, and it said we have identified other accounts reposting your stuff. We are now prioritizing your post over theirs.
Oh, there you go.
So I was like, that's really fascinating. And I've noticed the views are going up again now. So I'm like, that's really fascinating. Like, I think to your point, Mike, that is like the beginning steps of what you're saying, where they're going, hold on, this person took the time to make this and develop it and edit it and blah, 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 and sit in a studio and film it. So it's okay. You know, it's like the free speech thing. We're like, listen, you have the freedom to repost it. I can say don't allow remixes, you know, so it's like you have the right to do that, and that's okay for that to exist. But at least the platform is going to take the steps to say, hey, if you do like this, this is the original guy that made it, though. This is the one. Like, this is a reposted one. So I thought that was really cool. And I thought, like, wow, okay, that is like pushing back on kind of the issues we were just talking about. Like, the truth kind of getting lost. Of course, mine is just a silly post, but
the technology's there.
Right, and it's the same kind of idea, you know, as if a story got reshared.
Right.
And I could make that a lot faster. So it could nip that in the bud, like right at the beginning. As soon as people started posting copycat versions, those could just be deprioritized and shadow banned
immediately,
right away. That would be even better.
And because that's what we see now. Like, there are accounts that are just repost accounts, and you're like, you have like 1 million followers, you just reposting shit.
They're cracking down on that for sure, and that is going to get faster. I mean, like, that's obvious.
I mean, YouTube just demonetized AI content.
Yeah.
They said if you have AI content or it's reposted, you're allowed to post it, but you can't monetize it, which I think is totally fair.
We were talking earlier about a backlash to AI content. So yesterday, I think it was, DuckDuckGo, which is an alternative to Google search engine, just added a feature where you can just turn off all AI generated images in image search. And this is a feature that a search engine called Kagi has had for a while. Kagi's a paid search engine that has a really amazing image search. And in full disclosure, my son works for Kagi, so grain of salt. But they've had this feature for a while. But I think this is the future. There's going to be demand. Don't show me the AI garbage, and give me a way to just not see it.
Yeah,
I think it's a very positive trend. I think it's coming. I think it says a lot about, now we're just seeing the first like sort of official institutional backlash, institutionally implemented tools to deal with the backlash against AI garbage. And so this is very positive. I mean, you could even imagine social network says, only show me original sources, right? Otherwise, if I'm following somebody and they copy somebody, show that to me.
Sure.
But Twitter used to have this thing where if you were verified, one of the benefits of verification was only show me comments from other verified users. Okay, it was kind of elitist. It wasn't perfect. It was problematic. But still, there's something to be said for, we have to have some way to filter, not be drowning in an infinity pool of garbage. We need to be able to just like click a button and get the good stuff that we want.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. You know, that's nice. This feels a little more positive as we near the end. Mike, my last kind of question for you that I'd love to ask that we both had was, that we kind of just touched on, that what are you feeling good about in terms of the internet? Where do you go that you feel positive, that you feel hopeful? We've talked about some use cases of AI that make sense and make you feel good. Where are you going? It doesn't even have to be AI. Where are you going on the internet that makes you feel good and gives you hope and is just happy?
Well, I mean, I enjoy Substack a lot. There's a lot of really good writing, and again, there's a lot of bad writing or whatever. But I like any sort of place where I can decide what it is that I'm exposed to, but also let me know what else I could be exposed to that I could decide to have it. And Substack is that to a certain extent. I also publish on Substack, so there's a nice little community there. It's not big enough. There's not enough people. I don't have enough subscribers. I definitely don't have enough paid subscribers. I have some.
Go subscribe to Mike, please.
So that's nice. I also there's a thing happening on social networks around open protocols like Mastodon type protocols, the ad protocol. Blue Sky's starting to integrate with that. There's some talk about being able to have a blog and have that blog be part of a whole bunch of social networks through these protocols. So that gives me some hope. In general, though, as somebody who's just a voracious consumer of what I hope is the highest quality content I can find, I generally don't receive information from social networks. I try to promote, because like you, I want more followers. I want more fans. I want more readers and listeners. So I'm posting like a maniac on like 10 social networks, but I'm not really reading anything on those social networks. I still use an RSS reader.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I use Google Alerts, and I use a couple of other things like that. I use canned searches, so that it's a search for news from the last 24 hours. And just every day I go back to it and see the new news under those same search headings. And I have many dozens of the hundreds of those actually that I go through. So what I would recommend is, the only thing you should be reading online is comments, and have conversations online with intelligent, well-meaning people, for sure, right, on social networks. But I wouldn't let the social network pick what you're exposed to.
Yeah.
RSS is still great. There are a bunch of RSS readers. You choose high-quality news sources, the Atlantic Monthly, and, really, really good sources of news with good quality journalism, good quality bloggers. Substack is full, like you were talking about the evisceration of the media industry. That's primarily a financial thing. Mass advertising doesn't work on TV and in newspapers like it used to, and it didn't used to pay all the bills. It doesn't pay all the bills anymore like it used to.
Right.
So many of those journalists, some of the best journalists, are like, I'm not really able to work the way I used to. I'm going to go start my own Substack.
Yep.
And so you can build your own newspaper from the highest quality journalists, some of the highest quality journalists in the world. So build your own newspaper. Yeah. So and gravitate toward high quality information, and I'm always fighting with this myself. Go for quality instead of quantity. I always want to read everything, and you cannot, and it drives you crazy if you try. So just really, really, really read the best stuff instead of skimming all the stuff.
Skimming everything.
Yeah. So that's not really an answer to your question. I don't really have the one place. I used to love Google Plus. They killed it many years ago.
Google Plus was cool.
Yeah, it was great. For certain types of people, it was perfect. And for me, it was perfect. I haven't found a place like that since.
Yeah.
So I sort of cobble together my own thing through, I read over here and I post over there. And those are two different places.
Keep them separate. Yeah, no, me and all my PR friends always talk about that. We're like, man, the future is like pitching Substacks and pitching podcasts and pitching all of any reporter who's worth their weight in anything is moving over to Substack. If they haven't already, it's just what's happening. It's just kind of the next step. But Mike, this was incredible, man. I really, really enjoyed your time. Thank you so much. We would love to tell us where we can find you. Tell us all your Substacks, your socials, everything for people listening. Tell us where they can find you.
All right, so I use my full name, Mike Elgan, E-L-G-A-N, on all the social networks. So you can just search for Mike Elgan. You'll find me easily. If you're interested in the kind of stuff I'm talking about, my newsletter, Machine Society, is at machinesociety.ai. I'd love for you to subscribe. It's free. I have a philosophy about publishing on Substack, whereas I do have a paid tier, but the people who pay get a little bit more. The people who don't pay get 95% of the meat. And so I make the free version a full experience, like all the most important information is in the free version. So I would invite everybody, come to Substack, subscribe to machinesociety.ai, right? And just sign up for the free version. You don't have to pay me anything. You'll love the free version. And so I'd invite people to do that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to subscribe.
I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, Mike, this was incredible, man. We really appreciate your time. Thank you. I know you probably have a ton going on, so we really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. This was an incredible conversation. You are a wealth of knowledge. We would love to have you on again sometime soon.
I would love to be back on this podcast. This is a wonderful podcast, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys reached out and invited me to come on. I've really enjoyed this, and I'd love to do it as often as I can.
Oh my God,
please.
Thank you
so much, truly.
Yes, awesome. Cool, man. Well, where can they find you?
Oh, just at Alex Pischera, Pischera on Instagram, and that's really all my comedy stuff. All my comedy stuff's on there. And then Aggressively Chill Comedy. It's our weekly show. I honestly don't even feel like I need to promote it. We get sellouts every week now, and we have a very small space.
What's
so
that show? Come on.
It's doing really good, but it's Aggressively Chill Comedy on Instagram. You can find us on Eventbrite. every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. at Gold Sounds in Bushwick. If you're in New York, please come out. It's a real fun time.
Yes, indeed. And guys, you know the deal with me. I have a website. It's my first and last name, www.alexlabuti.com. I have episodes of the Hotdog Hour on there after they run on the Half Moon station. I have sketch comedy on there. I have stand-up tapes, stand-up clips, ticket deals, my diary you can read.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, it's
okay.
just a blog. I just call it the diary because I'm an idiot. Yeah, go to the site. I'm trying to sell tickets. I'm trying to change my life. Help. Guys, this was awesome. Thank you so much. Until next time, huh?
Yeah.
Mike, thank you again, man. I hope you have a great day. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I guess.
See ya. Great. Mike, thank you again, man. I really appreciate it.